Hello and welcome to the first video editing workshop for Library at the Dock. You should have already downloaded this zip file from the website. If not, can you please follow the link and download from Google Drive. This is a zip file with all of the files that we're going to work with during this workshop. So, unzip that file, and so what this zip file contains is some different video and audio files of an interview with Nolan Bushnell, who is the founder of Atari. And you can preview those just by pressing spacebar on the file on a Mac. We're going to make a little mini documentary about the creation of Atari told by Nolan Bushnell in this interview, and through the process of creating this little mini documentary we'll teach you how to use Premiere. So because this is about Atari, let's make a new folder on the desktop called Atari, and this is going to be our project folder. Now, it's really important to keep all your files very well organized, so that if you need to copy that project to an external drive, for example, you can just copy that entire folder. And I like to have a name for each project, a unique name. So for this one we're going to call it Atari. So within the Atari project folder we're going to create three subfolders. One's called Media, one is called Projects, and one is called Renders. Now I'll explain to you what each of these folders is for as we get to it. So the first one that we need to deal with is media, and we're going to be copying some of that media from that zip file into here. Now we know that there's an interview in there because we've got some background info, so let's go ahead and create a subfolder in media called interview. And let's just copy these three files. We've got card 1, card 2, that's an audio file of the interview, and card 3, that's a different camera angle from the same interview. So, and we can kind of see the little thumbnail here to see what each file is. So I can see that in this thumbnail this is a wider shot, this is a tighter shot, and then we've got an audio file there as well. So the wider shot, let's call this Atari Cam-A, and usually in the film world Cam-A is your sort of main shot or your wider shot, and then the other camera we're going to rename that Atari Cam-B. Let's rename the audio to Atari Audio. There's one other folder in here which is downloaded files, and for now I just want you to copy this entire folder over. So we've got downloaded files and interview, and now we're ready to open up Premiere. And we're going to click New Project over on the left. Now this is the New Project dialog that comes up. Really you only need to do two things here. You can leave all of these settings. We just need to create a name for the project. Now we're going to call it Atari, and the location we're going to choose the desktop and put it in Atari and Projects and click Choose. So it should look like this: Desktop Atari Projects. Click OK and Premiere will load up. The good thing about renaming all of our files and having them already in a media folder is that we can just import that entire media folder into Premiere and everything will already be organized, because we've done the sort of groundwork first. Now you can see here down the bottom it says import media to start, and this might look a bit confusing with all of these different boxes. Premiere almost tells you where you should start, and that's in your projects window here. So to import media there's a number of different ways. You can go File, Import, and then import some files, but you can just double click in here where it says import media to start, and it'll open up an import dialog. Now let's just click on Desktop, Atari, Media, and we'll just press import once you get to media, and it's just going to pull in that entire folder, which is exactly what we want. So now you can see here we have media. You can have a look here. We've got interview, downloaded files. So this is exactly as we renamed those files, and that's why it was important to rename them. Also because now we can see, okay, well now we know this is the Cam-A and this is the Cam-B and that's the audio. It's all renamed, ready to go. If it just said MOV1346, we wouldn't really know what it is unless we opened it. Now, if your window here looks a little bit different, it may be because the view options here are set differently. So you can see down the bottom here, if I click on here, you can see it's going to switch to icon view, freeform view. I've got it in list view. These are the different views. You can see what they look like. I prefer the list view because it's the smallest text and you can see a lot of things, and especially when you get a lot of files in here, it's much easier to see everything. If you double click on something in here, it'll open it up in a player, which is just above. So you can press spacebar to start playing.
When we decided to do the consumer Pong game.
So it's going to be playing the video file up there. For example, we can repeat the audio.
Could you please tell us the anecdote?
We can either create a new item or a new bin right down the bottom here. But I'm going to click new bin, and bin is Premiere's name for a folder. So create a new bin and we'll call this sequences. Okay, and within sequences, let's create a new item. And when you click new item, it gives you all sorts of options here. And we're just interested in creating a new sequence first of all. So let's click new sequence. And for this, we're going to just choose digital SLR 1080p 25, this one here. And you can see a little rundown of what this is. I won't delve too much into what these all mean because I'm trying to give you a brief overview of Premiere. But in Australia, we use 25 frames a second, and 1920 by 1080p is a good sort of all-round resolution for you. Our sequence name, let's call this Atari Interview. And we'll call it Atari Interview Raw. Okay. Now, we've got these two cameras and an audio file that are all from an Atari interview, an interview with Nolan Bushnell. Now, we could just drag this file straight into here. This is the timeline. So this sequence here, when we made that, it created a sequence that we could open up over here, and we can actually put video files and audio files within here. So first of all, let's just grab this file here, this Atari Cam-A, and we're just going to drag it over and just drop it into the sequence. And you'll see here, if I haven't let go of the mouse button yet, I've clicked and dragged over here, and I can drop it on any of these channels. So I'm just going to drop it on so it looks like that. Now, it says clip mismatch warning. This clip does not match the sequence settings. We want to keep the existing settings. It's telling me this because this video file, Atari Cam-A, was actually shot in 4K, so the resolution is much higher than 1080p, but I like to edit in 1080p and deliver in 1080p. That's all we really need to deliver in at this stage. But it's useful having that extra resolution in the file because it allows you to actually crop in on the video image, and I'll show you how to do that a bit later. So for now, let's just go keep existing settings. There are a couple of boxes here that have appeared. You can see there's one here that says Atari Cam-A.mp4 in V in brackets. This is actually the video part of the file, the actual visual part. Underneath, that's the audio part of the file, and you can see here there's this sort of line that goes across, like a double line. Anything below this line is going to be audio in Premiere, and anything above this line is going to be video. So you could put other video files up here on these other tracks, and underneath you could put other audio files under here, and it'll play all of them together or mix them all together. And you can see here, this is a viewer window up the top. for what is happening down here. And I can click this little playhead here, which is this blue line. I can click up the top here and I can sort of move about. I can press play and it's going to play. Now, the reason that it looks a bit funny and then cropped in is because of that very reason, that this sequence is 1080p, but the video file is actually 4K. So a quick way to fix that, and a quick way to sort of scale any video to your sequence, is to right click on this and you'll get a whole load of different options. And this right clicking on a clip in Premiere is very powerful. It's something that you'll probably do all the time. But we're going to scroll down here to set to frame size. And what that's going to do is it's just going to set that video to the right size for this sequence. Now, I like to do a couple of things to help us move about this sequence, to zoom in and zoom out primarily. And to do that, I find the best way is to just change one keyboard shortcut. So I just want you to go up to Premiere and go to keyboard shortcuts. Actually, 3 keyboard shortcuts. Now, this looks a bit crazy, but if you go down here to this search bar and just type in zoom, there's 3 things that make it very easy. You see we've got zoom in, I've got it set to 2, zoom out, I've got set to 1, and zoom to sequence I've got set to 3. So if you just click down here where it says zoom and press 2 for zoom in, zoom out, I want you to set that to 1, and zoom to sequence, I want you to set that to 3. And this 1, 2, 3, this makes things incredibly easy because it's very precise and these 3 are just at your fingertips, and they're very easy to zoom in and out and move about your sequence. So once you've got that set, 1, 2, and 3, zoom to sequence, just looking like this, press OK. And now you can see I can press 2 and it's going to zoom right in on the sequence here. You see the sequence is press 1 to zoom out, and the third one, zoom to sequence, if you press 3, it's just going to show you the end of wherever the last piece of video is or audio in your sequence. So you can see here that we've got the Cam-A, and you can see up the top here the time. So you can see 1 minute, 2 minutes. So we can see kind of this actually goes for 2 minutes 17. Let's grab the audio file as well. We'll pull that in, and I'm going to drop it down here on the 3rd channel. And now this is good clean audio, and the camera here has some audio with it as well, but that's just some audio that was recorded with the camera. Now to sync up these two, because these were recorded at the same time, I'm just going to click and drag a square over both, and then right click on both of them, and then go synchronize. It's going to bring up some options here. So I'm going to synchronize by audio, so you can synchronize by the clip start. If you synchronize by the clip start, it's just going to put the start of both clips in the same point. But audio will actually analyze the audio in both of these files, and it will move them into so that they're both synchronized. So now you can see what it's done is it has moved this file here over a bit so that it's synchronized. So we don't actually need this audio here because that is no good. And you see if we delete that and we press play.
Well, they came and said, how many can you build? We actually hadn't thought about it.
So you can see that we've actually got really nice quality recorded audio and the camera there, and we don't need that other audio. Let's pull in camera B as well, and you can see I haven't let go of the mouse button, but I don't want to put it over the top of that other audio file, so I'm just going to drop it up here for now. And I'm going to synchronize this file with the audio file also. So I'm going to click this one, I'm going to hold down Shift and click Audio, and I'm going to select these 3 and not touch camera A. Right click and go Synchronize. Synchronize the audio. So that has also moved this camera into the right place as well. Now we can delete this audio because we know that's no good. So now we've got camera B and camera A both synchronized to that audio. Right click on camera B and select set to frame size again, and that's going to bring that down. Now let's actually move these video files around. So grab your playhead, drag it up here to the start, and then let's what I want to do is move this camera A up onto this video 2 channel, and I want to have camera B below it. If I click and drag up but hold down shift while I'm dragging, it will safely move that video file up or down without it moving left or right. So you know that it's going to be in sync, and you can tell just down here there's a little sort of arrow to the left, and you can say, okay, that's this clip here lines up with the start of the other clip underneath. So I'm going to move that up one, and then click and drag whilst holding shift down one, and I know that that's going to still be in sync. And you can see here, so I've got camera A on top. Now the way that Premiere works is that whichever clip is on top will be displayed up here. So because this camera B is underneath, you won't be able to see it up here. And as we go through and do an edit, we might switch to camera B, which will involve disabling this and showing camera B underneath. But for now, we've done a really good setup here. We've got both cameras synced up with that audio. Now, if you wanted to just kind of have a look at camera B to make sure that it was synced, there's a couple of little eye icons. If you click on this, it will disable this whole channel. So now it's showing you camera B, which is underneath, because this is disabled. And so now we can check to make sure that's in sync too.
When we decided to do the consumer Pong game, which was the...
Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Now, this video isn't playing perfectly on this computer. I'm just on my laptop here. So to make this video play a little bit better, these videos might not be playing that well on your computer either. You see then when I press play, it actually dropped a few frames.
When we decided to do the consumer Pong game, which was the...
Yeah, see, now it's starting to stutter a bit. So that can be really annoying if you are trying to edit video and it doesn't work properly like that. A way to make your editing a bit smoother and make that video play a bit better is to go down here and change your playback resolution. So at the moment it's set to full, so this is playing back in 1080p. But if we change this down to half or even a quarter, it's going to make it play much better. So I'm going to try half first of all, and I'm going to press play.
It was we took it to the toy fair and we sold none. And we said, what?
So it's still not playing that great, so I'm going to take it down to a quarter. And this might also be because I'm doing the screen recording at the same time, so the computer's having to process that. But you should, if your computer's not working that well, definitely just drop it down to a quarter. It's only the playback resolution, and it still looks fine.
And we said, what's going on? We know that
so that's
a lot of
playing
people
much
want to
better
buy
now.
this. And it turned out that
You can see that's playing much better. So the computer's not having to work as hard to play back this high resolution file. So that concludes the first lesson. We've done a really good setup and we're pretty much ready to start editing. So join us in the next lesson and we'll get cutting up this interview and cutting between the A and the B cam and adding in some extra footage over top.